Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the EE PowerTalk. My name is Elvis.
My name is Daddy Blessing. Welcome.
Karibu sana.
Yeah, man.
Toxic work environment.
Mazee.
Na unipatie off. Wait, finish up.
You come, leave late and no pay rise.
Sasa wewe, si ufanya aje. Teremsha tu. Acha nisiongee sana.
Man, one of the biggest things that people are fighting nowadays is sticking on a toxic work environment. Considering the fact that the rate of unemployment has skyrocketed, so people have no option but to stick to that job that is treating them like trash. And you can't blame them because literally there is nothing much they can do.
Of course.
But we want to demystify and also put a clear distinction between when people are just lazy and when it is true that they are facing a toxic work environment. Because there are people who are lazy, they don't want to do things, but they want to, associate that feeling with quote unquote toxic work environment, being mistreated at my work. But technically you're lazy. If you are to look at the things, the way you are supposed to look at them, you are lazy. And there are some places you're giving your all, but it's turning out to be the other way around.
I also tend to think that, first of all,
yeah,
a toxic work environment is an environment that is very stressful.
Yes.
An environment that you don't find peace in.
Yeah.
An environment that makes you regret why you took the job.
Yes.
An environment that makes you question whether you need to be employed.
Exactly.
And an environment...
environment. Twende sana.
Okay. An environment. Chida ya matamchi.
Tulisema ukingoa hapa lazima we stop for 5 seconds to demystify and nini.
We take a breather.
Yes.
An environment that lacks respect. An environment that has a lot of conflict.
Yes.
Bro, have you ever been employed in a family-owned business?
Yeah, I have.
Family-owned business, leo, siblings hawasikizani.
Yes.
Believe me,
yes.
Even work that day
haitafanyika.
It's the same way, like, unless you have a very good partner or you have a good husband or wife, it's going to be easy for you to work together.
Yeah.
Kama leo bibi hataki udeal na female customers,
hauta deal na wao.
So what happens? It trickles down to the employees.
Absolutely.
Ideally, that's how I actually would define a
toxic work environment.
And mostly, okay, for me, I've never been employed in a toxic work environment. Mimi nimeemployiwa only twice. Na imekuwa tu miezi 4.
Yes.
That's it.
When it comes to a toxic work environment, toxic bosses, there are people who want to milk each and every drop of effort that you have for little to no appreciation. You're expected to do so much for so little. Not in terms even of monetary value, but even how you're being treated and or respected in that area of work. When something starts to become unbearable for you, like you have so many reasons to not to go to work, then you have to go to work. Like, you have bills to pay and all that, but that's not reason enough for you to go to work. You feel like, totally, I'm exhausted, I'm tired, I don't want to go. I don't want to see this person, I'm so tired. A toxic work environment, instead of increasing your productivity, it reduces your productivity. Because psychologically as a person, we are most productive in places where we enjoy being there. In as much as we would say career is not that enjoyable, but we are much productive in places that where our efforts are being recognized. We are being treated as humans. That's the bare minimum when it comes to people you work with or people that work for you. Treat them as humans. It starts to be toxic when you are not being treated as a human. And people might ask, when is Oja pale kwa gate, all right? How is your work being toxic? Can you imagine everyone removing their frustration ama wanatoa machungu na wewe because of the kind of frustrations wanapitisha nazo na boss wao? Like you are the end point of their frustration as far as that company is concerned. everyone is treating you the way they want, because that's how they are being treated up there.
I think for me, I would say that toxicity trickles down.
Yeah, it does. If the boss is toxic, the CEO will be toxic, the HR will be toxic, the finance department, especially the finance
unamwongeleshanga karibu akutumie makaratasi.
Anakuuliza hii ni date gani una nini? Hii ni date gani? The only thing I do here is mathematics and approval of payment. Me, I don't own this company.
I tend to think that it's very easy to actually ruin an organization.
Yeah.
Because all you need to have is one toxic person.
Sure. At the top.
Is at the top. And that's why you find that. Have you ever heard of people complaining that they don't want a certain vice chancellor in their school?
Yeah.
And you're like, it's the same way we don't want. There is a certain person in Kenya we don't want.
Yeah.
We it's toxic.
Yeah, it's toxic.
It's toxic. We don't want to mention names.
We cannot mention names.
We don't want to mention names.
But hata wewe unajua ni nani?
Yeah. It's the same way, because I tend to think, you see, how toxicity trickles down from A, B, C, D. Mtu wako chini ataona kama you can imagine junior employees wamezoea, they've experienced this toxicity to an extent that now they're like even if I do it well,
yes,
they don't care. Even if, and that's how easily you can actually ruin an organization.
Yeah.
And for me, I normally tend, there's a guy called Simon Sinek. I don't know if you normally watch his videos.
No, I don't.
Very good when it comes to areas, corporate leadership. There was one time I was listening to what he was saying, and that there is this guy who works in 2 hotels. In this one hotel, penye anafanya kazi as a receptionist. I'm trying, I hope it's the correct story, but I just watched it some time back. In this one hotel, this guy is treated so well.
Yes.
Anaambiwa, hi, is there anything you need? Are you okay? You're doing well? Perfect.
Yeah.
Then kwa hii hotel ingine, everything is disorganized. People, the company there. So he goes there, he doesn't even want to work. It's just like, let me just do the bare minimum.
Yes.
But when he comes back to this one, he's like, let me just work.
Yeah.
And that kind of a toxic environment, first of all, has led to the development of mental health disorders.
Sure.
The number of people, like nowadays, people are complaining more about toxic work environments than even relationships.
Yeah.
Because already your environment has become toxic.
Yes.
You brought the toxicity to your home.
At home, yeah.
You ruined your relationship.
You ruined everything, yeah, sure.
Yeah. Number 2, productivity. People are no longer productive.
Because number 1, it's not being appreciated. Why would you even put extra effort?
Exactly. And it has also led to just like a prevalence of people like just they don't want to be employed.
Yeah, sure.
You're finding guys, by the way, especially ukitoka in such an environment, are you going to be like, hey, never.
Yes.
Never again.
You find people nowadays, they are working not because they want to work, not because they have that urge or drive to be in a certain career, but they are working to pay bills.
Of course.
And there is nothing bad in this world like working for bills.
The moment you work for bills, ni hivyo.
The moment you work for bills, you surrender yourself to all types of shenanigans. Like you're doing things that just to get that extra shilling. And that now allows you to be a complacent person. Like you're dealing with every kind of BS that comes your way.
There are red flags when it comes to understanding a toxic work environment.
Yes.
Zile vitu unaonanga real life. Hii ni red flag. This is a toxic work environment. One thing I tend to think is when top leadership,
yes,
like lack of emotional intelligence.
Yeah,
kuta boss. There are bosses who are like, there is a conflict in the company.
They're smart on paper,
but unasikia mdomo, you're like, wait,
is that the person who has PhD in
this
whatever?
Is the person who is employed me.
Yeah.
Na naropokwa hivi.
Yes.
Number 2, internal conflicts.
Yes.
And that's why I like saying that not everyone in the work environment is your friend.
No one is your friend
in
the
fact,
work
no one is your friend.
Environment. They are just colleagues.
These are just colleagues. And it's funny. Have you ever heard of how probably someone married someone there they've been working with?
Yes.
After 2-3 years, unasikia
kaput.
Why? The same toxicity they have as bosses or employers or
yes.
employees is the same thing they bring to the
to the house.
To the house.
Yeah.
And Pia, I also tend to think that communication, you see, communication itself is a soft skill.
Yeah, it is.
Miscommunication, like for example, we probably have an event on Thursday. There is something that needs to be done.
Yeah.
Top leadership never communicated it, right? Because orders have to trickle down.
Yeah, sure.
They cannot trickle up. These guys suggest, then orders come from.
Yeah.
So miscommunication, something is not done.
Yes.
Do you know what happens next?
They blame the junior nini.
Mbona hukuniambia wewe?
When hamukuona, why are you not being taking initiative? How can we take initiative? Are we bosses? We cannot. The only thing we can do is to suggest some things that can be done. After that, we wait for you to approve, disapprove, correct, or do something. But now, when you have left, responsibility without authority, that's something we had talked about.
We talked about that.
Yeah. You're giving this person so much responsibility, but they don't have any authority. Yeah, like unakuta maboss flani or heads of organization, when you suggest something, in their head it clicks that you're following through with that something, and it was a suggestion to begin with. So what I'm waiting for from you is approval, so that I can move forward with it. Not in the day of the event, if it's an event we are talking about, ndio unakuja kuniuliza, by the way, ile kitu ulikuwa umesuggest July, and we are in August. Ile kitu ulikuwa umesuggest July, are you still following through to where?
I think that's by the way, honestly, kwanza hiyo, I think, have you ever heard of how some people hide documents to show that this person never communicated?
Yes.
There's a time,
people delete emails.
Yes. There's a time I was in KRA, Southern Region Attachment. And you will see these squabbles and conflicts internally. Unajua sisi mimi nilikuwa atachi, kazi ilikuwa kwa store. So if you guys at the top are fighting, sisi tuko tu hapo tunangojea tu drama imalizike.
Yes.
Mkuja mtupigie kelele, we do our work, muendelee kupigana.
Yes.
I don't know what you think about something else. And let me just put it this way. Unethical practices when it comes to work.
Well, in Kenya, especially, there are company laws and employment laws. I see laws. Laws. Employment laws. I'm butchering the English. Employment laws. When your boss is going above and beyond your working hours, this person wants you to work 24/7 with a 9 to 5 compensation. That is unethical. Now, these people, again, going back to what I've just shared right now, responsibility without authority. They want you to take care of things that are beyond your job description. Number one, without your consent, and they leave all the burdens unto you. What does the job description say that you're supposed to do? If it says I'm supposed to do A, B, why are you asking me about C? It's clearly out of my jurisdiction. And number two, you did not delegate it to me to begin with. Something you did not delegate, don't ask me. That's unethical. Blackmail. Threatening people that you will fire them if they don't know something. That is, number one, beyond the job description and goes beyond and against employment laws. If you want a person to be receiving calls at 10 p.m. when it's time to spend time with their family or to probably rest, are you going to compensate them for that? Absolutely not.
You will not.
Then why do you want them to show up for you and you won't show up for them in their payslip?
Of course.
You can't be blaming people that they are not taking that initiative, and you are going above and beyond. You are bleaching their privacy.
Very true.
Yes.
Very true. There is something else I also came to learn, and it's a toxic trait in the work environment. It's called favoritism.
Yeah, favoritism. Having favorites.
You have a certain person who is your favorite in the office. Like there is a certain kaledi unaonanga kanavanga skirt fupi. So she comes, she shakes her bum and you're like, God damn it. Leta hiyo makaratasi. You get?
Yes.
And then there's Kenodia. You don't like Kenodia.
You don't like seeing Kenodia, and the way Kenodia works hard.
Kenodia works so hard to make you. But then, have you ever noted something like that in corporate?
Yeah.
Like unakuta kuna mse anajituma hapo hivi.
You know, in the corporate world, by the way, there's an unwritten rule. Haikwangi imeandikwa. The guy who works the hardest gets fired the quickest. And then, like, I remember you saw unaangalia too some of the things that happen in corporate. You look at the scenario and you're like, boss, I thought this is what we are looking for, to actually get to work and do things the way you're doing things and get paid. Do you know why people get treated that way? Like, you're the most hardworking, but when something goes wrong, you get fired. The very first.
Juendo ulifanya makosa.
Yeah, because you have put the bar so high for yourself, such that when you one step mistake, it will impact a lot because of the capacity that you are holding as a person who is always outgoing. The people that won't get the blame. The people that won't get the blame. Director aliweka chai mingi kwa nini?
Aliweka chai mingi
Yes.
Ara inaleta shida.
Ara aliweka chai mingi kwa mkate. So now the guy that gets the blame is the guy who always shows up. So it is assumed it is his responsibility that this thing has failed to begin with. The people that show up the least because there is little to no responsibility given to them. That's why they are saved most of the time.
Hey, but anyway, some of the things I hear about toxic work environments. Okay, there's this, I think. Funny thing in Kenya is that micro, small, and medium enterprises,
MSMEs,
are the biggest employers.
Yes,
but they're the most toxic.
Ask me. I have been employed by owners of such.
Someone is operating a business.
Yeah.
So this business, first of all, doesn't have core values. It doesn't have a vision statement. It doesn't have a mission statement.
Nothing. It just
there's no direction. Tunauza tu simu. So leo bibi yangu akinipigia kelele kwa nyumba.
Yes.
Bono na nini? There's a time I went to a shop. I went to this certain supermarket in Nyeri.
Yes.
And I was buying I can't even remember what I was buying. But I remember there was a guy who was harassing mavijana wamebeba nini unasikianga venye foreman. There's this podcast I was watching. Foreman ati nilianguka kutoka sijui 5th floor. Kasema ati anapenda venye nabeba simiti.
Napenda venye unashuka.
You get? So like you realize that MSMEs are the biggest employers. But the biggest problem that we have today is that most of these micro, small, and medium enterprises haven't had this organizational culture where they are treated on how to have human resource practices.
Sure.
Buddha, like you're employed in a cyber cafe. Kazi yako ni gani? Kutype tu. So when your boss comes and starts insulting you, you don't know there is something that protects you from this.
Exactly.
That's why you're finding, like, I pity majority of what is happening, especially when it comes to the female gender, because you realize women are loyal to their feelings.
Sure.
What they feel is what they will do
at that specific moment.
Yeah. Kongoziti itakuja baadaye. Yeah, the reason itakuja baadaye, it's a normal thing most people have to understand.
Yes.
I don't know, I'm not a science, so whatever. But the thing is, you realize that a lady is going to be employed in an office.
Yes.
Nowadays, ata chenye kiko is not even sexual sijui stories and nini.
Yeah.
It's about the pressure from the workplace.
Yeah.
Ile pressure iko hapo, you can imagine now that lady has kids. She's a single mother probably.
Yes.
She's a firstborn. She's responsible for siblings.
Yes.
Boss wake anampea pressure sijui haikai. This person starts getting mental health issues.
Yes.
Does the organization they're working in have any practice to actually help them cope with this?
Absolutely not.
Mtu hadi jioni akiwa kwa nyumba akona pressure. And that's why for me, by the way, like most of the time I tell people, listen, the people I work with, I don't tell them what to do.
Yes.
I tell them, remember, you're not my employee. You're not my employee at all. You're a contractor.
Yes.
A contractor doesn't need to be told twice. A contractor knows what to do. Like, for
Yes.
example, if you contract me to do digital marketing, like for this podcast,
Yes.
bro, I shouldn't be cutting katikati ya podcast nikuambie, hey, nafaa nipige picha. No, you do it.
You do it, yeah.
That is your responsibility. And the funny thing is, I came to realize that when I don't tell guys what to do, hebu angalia Mengos, tunamwambia kitu yote.
Nothing. Zilch.
We don't. You get?
He is arguably the best showrunner in Kenya.
Of course.
We give it to him because, I mean, he took that initiative and he knows what to do.
Bro, like, this is the thing people have to also get to understand, that when you're bringing people in your organization, there is another thing that and the reason as to why we tend to have toxic work environments is because we bring people into the company or into businesses because of merit. Makaratasi. We ignore the skilled individuals.
Yes.
And then when you get these skilled guys, instead of listening to what they bring to the table, you want to force them to already use what is on the table.
You know, it's called micromanagement.
Exactly, micromanagement.
Like, you can't. I will use also the example of Director Mengos. He writes for us. He researches for us. If we micromanage on what he's going to research out there, we are limiting his
abilities,
his ability, his creativity, and all that. Then we won't get his full potential as the showrunner, stroke director. So he will only give us the bare minimum, what Elvis and Daddy Blessing wants, and not what him as Director Mengos he envisions EE PowerTalk to be. You know, when he sits down and he carefully selects topics that we are going to discuss, and also puts some reflections on other podcasts or other episodes that we have done. That is his work. You know, he has sat down, calculated, and has known, okay, our audience is reacting to this and this and this and this. So next they might expect this and this topic. That's on him. As opposed to Masimu everywhere. Director Mengos, kuna hii topic, hizo zako kwanza weka kando, kuna hii imekama up. There is that time we would sit down and say, okay, it is good, but in this segment we want to talk about this and this and this. That is collaboration, as opposed to micromanaging.
Yeah. Kwanza hiyo story ya micromanagement, that's something that people there's I tend to think that Pia, it's a high time people also get to understand that if it's not working for you, exit.
Yeah, sure. Toka mbio.
If it is not working for you, exit.
Toka mbio.
Plan your exit. If it's possible, get like 6 months of your expenses.
Sure.
And then we also talk about digital literacy and digital skills.
Yeah.
Bro, like I happen to, you know, for me, I'm always scouting for potential. And any person who probably comes and works for me, I tell them, listen, me, I am not that person who's going to give you a job and you work in an office.
Yeah.
You work from where you are.
Yes.
You deliver, you get paid.
Yes.
You don't get paid. That's the thing. That's the agreement.
Straight up.
And you see, plan your exit, right? Understand, learn from your experiences. Whatever has, you know, there are sometimes, you know, red flags. They tell people red flags. A red flag si maua. It's not a rose.
Yeah.
You see a red flag, you learn from it, you escape from it. What you have learned from a certain organization should either give you experience, should give you a lesson, or should probably educate you on what you should expect in your next employment.
Absolutely.
Kawe ni mtu wa kutafuta job, we don't have something against you.
Yeah.
Look for a job. The experiences that you had previously. And then it's a high time people also got to understand things like digital skills, entrepreneurship, self-employment, sitting down and doing something that can also be constructive for you.
Yes.
Someone has been working for 25 years as a financial advisor, and you tell this person, how about you do this? Just leave the job. It's not good for you. Freelance.
By the way, now that you've mentioned financial advisors, I have seen people make millions for other people, but they don't take their own advice.
Never.
I'm like, okay, you're a financial advisor. Clearly, your strategies has helped billionaire ABCD sustain their wealth. But you're still contracting.
Uko
tu hapo tu unangojea mshahara mwisho ya mwezi. Why don't you even take your own advice for just 1 minute?
Exactly.
You know, just 1 minute. What you're good at, if you're a professional consultant, why don't you take your first, yourself or your brand as your first client? Because that's what I do. You know, anything I can't do for Daddy Blessing as a brand, I can't come to implement on any other person's brand.
Of course. And most people, by the way, I think a number of us are yet to understand that you are who in whatever you do in your organization.
Yes.
It's also possible for you to actually do it outside.
Yeah.
And I hate this toxic trait by organizations and businesses where, like, for example, mimi ni digital marketer.
Yes.
At the moment I start creating a LinkedIn profile for my own thing, these guys are like, wewe, apana, you should
be talking about the company.
Have you heard about that? That's
here.
something to run away from.
Yeah.
And like for me unajua mi wambia mtu sahi right now, the only thing I can take as employment
Yes.
is a 5-day internship. Now, 5-day internship
Yes.
is to learn.
Yes.
I don't even want you to pay me. I just want to learn. See what you do, understand it.
Yes.
Because that's a learning experience for me. Because at the end of the day, people have to really get to grasp that a toxic work environment is toxic.
Yes.
Unasikia mtu ameimba something is a toxic. Ati amekuwa, this environment is toxic. Amekuwa up over the past 15 years. They don't have the guts to wake up and leave.
Yes.
Because of the fear ile ati kai nikitoka nitafanya nini.
Yes.
Guy watoto wangu watafanya nini. Plus pia I tend to think people have to be forward thinking. You cannot be employed for 50 years in the same organization. You've made people billionaires.
Yes.
Yeah, we uko tu hapo saying sijui nini toxic work environment sijui. Oi, alifanya nini? Those ones. And for me, I'm not so much into the employment era, but I tend to think people have to really also prioritize their mental health.
Yeah. As you're planning your exit, you have to prepare yourself psychologically. Because in as much as we would love for you to be independent, for you not to experience toxicity in your workplace and all that, we can't be careless and tell you, toka job kesho. Hama. Tutakupoteza. Na ukikuja kwa EE PowerTalk tu na kazi za kupea watu. Kazi zinafanywa huku na kina Jemo na director Mengos
wote.
Yes. Na tunawatafutia mishahara by God's grace. So we won't have anything to give you. So we can't tell you toka kwa your job imekuwa toxic. And that's the message that people nowadays are sending. We agree it is toxic, but how do you plan your exit? Psychologically first, financially, then from there you can do calculated moves. We are not saying that you must be 100% tick on anything else that you're going to do after finishing that 9 to 5 or that work environment. We are not telling you to be 100% sure that ukitoka hapa unaenda place fulani and your life will be guaranteed. That's not what we are telling you, but at least have something that you're gonna do or something that will sustain you as you think of what to do next. But moving out blindly, utaacha toxic environment, upatane na the toxic world.
Exactly.
And it will be quite unfortunate.
Very unfortunate, in fact.
Because you took advice from people who lied to you. Dawa ya toxic work environment is planning a smooth exit. Or increase your value so much until that company or organization, when they think of losing you, wanatoka na wazimu. So anything, the least they can do is to adjust to your demands. All na ikele unaambia, okay, after I leave, this is and this and this and this is what you take so much responsibility in that docket that you be the best, then plan your exit.
Very, very important.
Yeah.
Maybe for me, I will say that a toxic work environment is toxic. Period. Hakuna story ya kusema sijui ni toxic but wacha niendele. Labda wata change. You are not Jesus Christ.
Yes.
You will not change a boss who is toxic. Of course. And then people also have to really get to understand that you're in this world for a reason. There is your purpose. There is something that you can bring to the table that no one else has. We have social media. You can start talking about what you do. Like the skills you have, the skill set that you have. People out here need it. That toxic work environment probably doesn't need it.
Yeah, sure.
So get out, plan and leave. And a red flag is a red flag for a reason. If you realize there is micromanagement, if you realize there is favoritism, internal conflicts, what are you waiting for? Finally, ladies and gentlemen, as I say, I just end this and say this. A toxic work environment is a toxic work environment, and it is toxic. Tosha. Period.
When you start doing the bare minimum just to survive, that's the time to plan your exit. That's the EE PowerTalk. My name is Daddy Blessing. See you in the next one.
My name is Elvis. See you in the next one.